Women of St. John's Women in Achievement Award to Ann Juliano Jawin posthumously, March 26, 2022. Ann Juliano Jawin was an educator, author, and activist who was part of the second wave of the women's movement in the 1970s. She earned a bachelor's from Hunter College in 1943, a master's from C.W. Post in 1972, and was most proud of her professional diploma from St. John's University in 1977. After raising her two sons, Ronald and Paul, Ms. Jawin began her educator career as a high school teacher and then became a guidance counselor. As chair of New York City National Organization for Women's Task Force on Education and Employment, she edited the 1977 edition of the Report on Sex Bias in New York City Public Schools. With others, she testified before the Board of Education and won the establishment of the Chancellor's Task Force to eliminate sex bias in New York City public schools, and in 1970, developed the first in-service course for teachers on women's rights. In 1980, with another guidance counselor, Ann initiated a class action against the Board of Education for discriminating against women in appointments to supervisory positions in high schools that was settled successfully in 1990. Ann and Edward Jawin were founding members of the Bay Terrace Civic Association and the Doug Bay Civic Association. Ann was also very active in local politics. She served as a state committee woman, was the first woman in her area of northeastern Queens to run for the New York State Senate in 1984. Ann's bibliography is listed in the book Feminists Who Changed America in 1963 through 1975. She was featured in the Veteran Feminists of America Pioneer Histories Project. You can view Ann's interview and read the transcript at veteranfeministsofamerica.org. Ann was also an author who published A Woman's Guide to Career Preparation, Scholarships, Grants, and Loans. In 1987, Ann Jawin founded the Queens Women's Center, later renamed Center for the Women of New York, a voluntary nonprofit organization to fill the void in women's services in Queens. She fought tirelessly to obtain a building at Fort Totten Bayside to expand services for women from Queensborough Hall in Kew Gardens. Some of the remarkable initiatives Ann spearheaded are domestic violence and trafficking prevention panel discussions, self-defense classes for women. She even found a female auto mechanic to teach women the basics about car repairs and safety. Ann believed in advancing women in sports and organized groups to attend St. John's women's basketball games and presented awards to female coaches who inspired young female athletes. At the CWNY annual career conferences, successful women shared their inspirational journeys and presented workshops, in particular, for women who had gaps in their resumes due to raising children or caring for elderly parents. After every career conference, CWNY was sure to have new volunteers at the office, gaining the skills and confidence to start a new career. Ann's legacy lives on through the current Center for the Women of New York's free services and programs, which have expanded beyond Queens. CWNY has two locations, Fort Totten Bayside and Queensborough Hall, Kew Gardens. CWNY strives to support, empower, and advocate for women's best interests throughout their journey to help them reach their full potential. We are a nonprofit 501c3 organization dedicated to women's empowerment and gender equality since 1987. CWNY's volunteers, members, sponsors, advisory board, and board of directors all together make CWNY's mission possible. We hope you will join us to support our mission and Ann's legacy. For more information on our free services and programs, visit cwny.org. Ann Jawin's memorial plaque at the Center for the Women of New York building at Fort Totten says it all. She was a relentless political activist and advocate for women's rights. The Center for the Women of New York proudly accepts this award on behalf of founder Ann Juliano Jawin and the Jawin family.